Good morning. One of the questions we always get is, do I pay off my debt or do I start my long-term savings now? A lot of people are mesmerized by paying down a mortgage in particular and think that that is the end of their financial freedom. I want to show you some numbers and show you some illustrations as to our rules of thumb as to what the answer is, economically, not just in an isolated vacuum. Now, I want to preface that this does not necessarily apply to high interest credit card debt. Obviously, those ones, the cost versus the reward of paying those off, we want those paid off as soon as possible. The only caveat I'd say there is that if you have zero emergency savings and you're putting all your money on the debt, there needs to be a balance. Get some emergency savings at the same time, maybe a 50-50 split, and so we've got some emergencies saved up because the minute something happens, that credit card's getting used again. Okay, so let's look at credit cards. Let's talk about the biggest payment you have on the books, which is typically your mortgage. And we get this conversation all the time of, yeah, but if I pay off my mortgage, then I will be financially free. I'll be able to then save, and I'll be able to, have this wonderful new freedom for my future retirement. So what I want to compare today is one mortgage, okay? What if we paid it off in 15 years and then started saving? Or what if we paid it off over 30 years and took the difference of cash flow and put it into savings now? There's this concept of the exponential curve that we only have one life to live. And the reality is that if you don't have a pension plan through an employer that's going to provide for 100% of your pre-retirement income, they don't exist, then you have to save for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. So here's some numbers. I'm going to share my screen today. Let's run through a few things. Okay, so here's an example. What I want to look at is if we had a house that was worth, let's say, $500,000, okay, small house these days, we had a mortgage of $400,000 and we want to pay that sucker off within 15 years, okay? If we're going to do that at the low interest rates right now, we could be looking at an annual payment about $32,000. Let's assume we're in our 30s because, we're just getting started on this house, we're moving forward. We're going to pay this sucker down over 15 years, but that also means I'm using up all my cash flow that I could have used for long-term savings. That means that I'm not saving until that 15-year mark. So here's what I'm going to pull. This is a beautiful thing. I have a model that I can simulate anything you want, and we can run with it and see how it works. So let's pull this through. I can pull it through age by age. So if you notice, the next year, all of a sudden the mortgage has gone down. So it's illustrating that our house values are going up, our mortgage is going down, but because we're not saving anything, we're missing out over here. So let's go to age 50. Age 50, congratulations, you paid off your mortgage in 15 years. Woo woo, go have a party. First off, majority of people, when they pay off their full mortgage, do not put the entire thing into savings. I'll say that. Usually they loosen the purse strings a little bit more, and their long-term plan to save all of that doesn't actually happen. But let's say you're really diligent and you do. At 50, all of a sudden you have no mortgage, so all that $32,000 a year can now go to savings. Let's put a 4% rate of return on it. We're not looking at shooting lights out. We're looking at some safety here. Let's go to age 65. 65, we want to retire. Great. At 4%, you have now managed to accumulate a nest egg of $658,000, assuming you had no interruption along that way. So great. We've saved up. We've got a house worth 1.2 at a 3% appreciation, and we've got $650,000 in the bank. Okay, but what would have happened if we had started to save right away instead? All right, here's my other scenario. Same cash flow, same $32,000, but instead we pay off our mortgage over 30 years. Notice our payments are significantly less. What if we take the difference and we put it into something like cash value whole life insurance? Now, this is an option, okay? The reason I picked this is because this is not market volatile. So this is an avenue where we are providing for legacy for long-term, for today and long-term. In addition, we're saving cash that we can use for our retirement in a very safe and tax-efficient manner, not at the whim of the market. So let's talk safety. Now let's go to age 50. At age 50, darn it, we still have a mortgage we're not paid off. Yep, you're right. But here's what we do have. This bottom number here is cash. We have $273,000 in cash. Oh, plus a death benefit of $1 million, and that's just icing on the cake. Great, we've just picked it up along the way. But we've got $273,000. Now let me ask you, at age 50, is there anybody that's telling you and forcing you to say you have to keep that in there? You're not allowed to take it off and pay off your mortgage. No, you have the freedom and control over this money. So what if we made a strategic move at age 50 and said, listen, we can still accomplish the same thing of having it paid off at 50, but can we do it in a more efficient manner? And I'm going to say yes. No one's stopping you from taking this money and paying off the mortgage, and we've still accomplished the same thing, but with a lot more safety. Now, let's go to age 65. If we went to age 65, oh, guess what? Our mortgage is done, because now a 30-year mortgage is done. Our house value is the same. The reality is that your house value doesn't go up the minute you pay off your mortgage, right? But what have we picked up? Instead, in scenario here, where we have paid off our mortgage over 15 years, we would have been able to accumulate $658,000. Great. Over here, if we start saving right away and we allow the idea of the timing of compounding to work to your advantage, we have $1 million in cash, plus a death benefit of 1.9. And again, that's icing on the cake, great for legacy. We've accomplished two things, two birds with one stone, shall we say. Okay, $1 million in a very safe avenue that we can use tax efficiently for retirement income, plus a death benefit for legacy. Oh, instead of $658,000, who's a better scenario? Okay, also, let's even go like 10 years down. So let's say 45. What I also want to compare is this idea that if we put all of our money into the mortgage, great, you've paid that down. Do you have access to that equity without going through financial underwriting? Then is it really yours to keep? Versus over here, what if we had an extra $87,000 in cash sitting somewhere? Who's in a better economic position to make decisions and to live your best life? You are, not the bank. So it's this idea that the longer that we have to save, the better we're going to be, because no one else is going to do it for you, folks. You got to do it yourself. Okay? So what we want is we want to be able to harvest that. So my rule of thumb at the end of the day, here's the goal. If you are saving 15 to 20% of your gross income, so if you make 100 grand, if you're saving $15,000 to $20,000 a year into efficient savings methods, TFSAs, whole life insurance, registered, whatever avenue, real estate, whatever avenue we find is the best fit for you, then absolutely put as much money as you want on the mortgage. But if you are not saving 15 to 20%, you should not be putting any additional money into your mortgage for essentially as much as we efficiently can. That's my rule of thumb. If putting money into debt flow, especially at a low interest rate, is stifling your ability to save 20% of your income, you're not doing yourself a good service long term. I hope that helped. Obviously, ask us any questions, comment below, let me know what you think. Would you be interested in getting kind of an evaluation of your mortgage and your overall scenario as to should you be looking at using your cash flow, your biggest cash flow, the mortgage payment, more efficiently? Have a wonderful day. From Oasis Wealth, I'm Beverly.